The team at Desert Flower Landscaping have asked for some assistance on how best to manage the title block. If I move with this drawing into layout space, if we go to the layouts manager, notice that we're working here with an A2 size sheet. And if I zoom in on the title block area, it's actually labeled 1 to 50 at A3, which is incorrect. So we need, as it's set up now, we need to come back into the model, and we'll just change that. I actually just need to check. If I pick the floating viewport here, it's actually a view scale of 1 to 25. So we need to go in here and say we need to edit this particular piece of text. So it's 1 to 25, which, by the way, in most countries that use the metric system is not an approved scale. You'd normally either use 1 to 10, 1 to 20, and then jump to 1 to 50. But I digress. We type in A2 to coincide with the label on the tag there, and unselect all, zoom extents again, and there we are in model space. So we've edited that piece of text now, and when we switch here 1 to 25 at A2, that is correct. However, if you go back to another tab that's on an A3 sheet, that very same figure, this tab says we're now on an A3. Let's have a little look at it in the layouts manager. Yeah, it's A3. So we have to keep, this is really unwieldy, we have to keep switching backwards and forwards from model space to layout space to get this working properly. So instead of putting your title block in model space, I think it would be much more efficient to form a block of this area here, take it away from model space and put it into paper space. Then you could edit each block separately, and that should overcome the problem. Well, let's experiment and see if we can improve that system, make a block. First thing I'll do is take the north indicator out of what will become our new block. I pop it here. That's interesting. It's already been scaled, and it's 0.13. So 0.17, 0.17, and that's brought us up. I'm going to use the, in a sense, cheats way. I'll scale and just do it visually. I want it about that size. So it should work well. So we've got the north indicator out. That means that if we, in a system, we can tweak things just slightly. North might in fact be at a slight angle. You don't always get north perfectly up. And sun studies, of course, are terribly important. What we now want to do is to make a block of this. I'd be inclined to take everything here, copy it to the clipboard, and I'd make a brand new drawing. And the idea here is don't have any templates and just paste that into the clipboard. We'll put an insertion point at 0, 0, and those zoom extents. So now we have a separate drawing, and what I'll do now is experiment a little. I want it to be of a suitable size. In fact, you could even make a title block that suits an A1 or suits even an A4 sheet. But I want to make this the appropriate size. If I measure it from one side to the other, I now need to do some detective work here. That's 8,000, whoops, get rid of that. That's 8,000 units there. So there's quite a bit of fiddling around for me to get the logo now drawn the size that works on layout space, or say, I think working to an A2 size should go reasonably well. So I'll get back to you when I've done some work on forming a title block, and then we'll insert it into layout space. Well, if I switch away from that new title block that we're developing, jump back into an A2 sheet, and we'll just use the distance to get an idea of the size that we need for that new block. So if it's 185 units, so if we make the title block about 200 units long, things should work nicely. Well, to help me get the size correct, I drew a line 200 units long and then scale the block accordingly. So let's get rid of that line. It's a good idea to draw a new line from 0, 0, just to make sure we've got our title block anchored where we want it, and we have. So now we can save that as a separate drawing, and then we'll experiment with bringing it into any one of those layout sheets and just edit the information in the title block, and we can have different insertions of that title block on different size sheets, and things should work much more smoothly. Well, here's the finished title block. It's about 200 millimeters long. We measure from one side to the other, 200 units, 200 millimeters, because this is being developed in the metric world. The reason that some of the text is coloured red and the rest is left in the standard colour used by this design group is that all entities that are coloured red are going to be replaced when we use the block. So what I'm now going to do is save this. I'll save it on the desktop. Zoom extents, maybe just check file size, 8 kilobytes, absolutely minuscule, so we can save it on the desktop. Let's now move and try it in the real job. Well, here I am back in model space, and we've decided that we're going to remove all the title block information which has been placed into model space. Now when we go to our layout space, of course we've now got this area here spare, and this is where we're going to insert our new title block. This is where we will insert the title block. We'll add from another file, pick it up from the desktop, open it up, and say OK, and insert it into the drawing. And there we are. Now that worked well at 200 millimeters long, but remember that a sheet such as this is 540 millimeters long, so we can just scale it now. Scale 1, we will double it and double it again, and then we've got a base point down here and pop it into position. Now we brought that block in, let's bring it into this one as well. Insert it. This is now an A3 sheet, and we can pop it in that space there. So the block, 200 millimeters long, works well on an A3 sheet, but on the larger sheet, on the A2 sheet, we had to scale it, and that I think is working well. Maybe we can move it slightly to the left. Now, we've made in that title block the text red, and we have one block at the moment, but if we pick our layout sheet, notice it's 1 to 25, we need to update that information. And if we zoom in here, it's 1 to 25 on A2, which is correct. But if we go to our A3 sheet, I wasn't responsible for doing this, but it's set at 1 to 50 at a fixed scale on that A3 sheet. Incidentally, if we make that colour, the layout sheet, make it colour white. So the floating viewport is white on the sheet. I can grab it and then move it up just a little, and it sits nicely on the sheet. That allows us plenty of space to add extra photos and other information to illustrate the concepts for the design. But what I want to illustrate is this is incorrect, isn't it? Let me just take line weight off for the moment. It's not a 1 to 25 at A2. It is, we need to edit it. But if I edit it and then change back to the other layout, the A2 layout, the information in that one will transfer across. So what we do is just explode that. Now we jump in here and we can edit that text. It's 1 to 50 at A3. So to sum up, you can use that single block, and we'll go back here and zoom in, 1 to 25 on the A2 sheet. I'd be inclined to explode it on each of the sheets because the block is going to be used in lots of projects. So I'd be inclined to get in the habit of, once you put it in, explode it. And now I'd also be inclined, when I have edited anything at all, the project name and so on, I'd move that back into dark text. So I'll just go and modify match properties. So if I do that, so that tells me I've done that update. I need to update project name, client name, and so on. So I think we've now got a versatile title block. Remember, we put everything in there on layer L title. So presumably we can happily turn that layer off and everything will disappear and bring it back on again. So the design is working reasonably well. So I hope that helps cover some aspects of using title block. I would not have my title block in model space. Always put it in layout space, because whatever you put here is always going to be seen in the layout